Hello everybody, and welcome back to Stan's Garage, bringing you everything you need to know for effective business IT management. In today's video, let's go over some of the new cyber threats highlighted to us by acclaimed cybersecurity expert Karim Hijazi. If you've been paying attention at all to current cyber events, you've undoubtedly heard about ransomware. This malicious malware has become well known to be crux for cyber attacks against major US corporations for some time now. However, we also need to keep in mind that hackers and bad actors are always evolving their tactics. They're coming up with new and sophisticated threats that are more disruptive and harder to detect. So according to Karim, here is a list of 5 emerging cybersecurity threats you should watch out for. Number 1, wiper malware. Wipers are a sort of malware that can be way more devastating than ransomware because they aren't really after financial gain. They're just designed to erase data rather than to extort money. Really, it's just kind of a good old smash and grab, except they're not grabbing anything, they're just smashing. Until now, wipers haven't been widely used. But that's expected to change.
Nice.
We'll probably be seeing more digital confrontations involving devastating cyber attacks as nation states grow more active and bolder online. Sure, you heard about this Ukraine conflict. This is the kind of thing that we might see come out of it. There's already a precedent for these types of attacks. Iran has been accused of carrying out a series of wiper attacks against Israel as part of a wave of cyber skirmishes between the two countries that erupted in around 2020. Iran has also been linked to various wiper attacks in the past, including Saudi Aramco's Shamoon attack in 2012, which destroyed over 30,000 computers, and Las Vegas Sands Corp wiper attack in 2014. Also in 2014, North Korea deployed wiper malware in its infamous attack on Sony Pictures. Of course, they also exfiltrated a lot of that data. Wiper malware really has no barrier to entry, so it's not limited to state actors. While wipers are less valuable financially to criminals, they are a powerful tool for terrorists, political activists, and lone wolves who merely want to cause harm. Next on the list we have corrupted AI. So cyber criminals and nation state hacking groups. The growing sector of artificial intelligence is a future gold mine, right? Think about it, you corrupt an AI, who knows what sort of treasure trove of damage you can cause, right? AI will enable malware to become smarter and more autonomous, give it the ability to adapt to changing conditions and learn how to refine its methods in order to carry out more sophisticated attacks. According to researchers, early stage AI is already substantially better than humans at conducting phishing attacks and constructing viral tweets and social media phishing that can infect users. Heck, we use AI-driven phishing training to help our supported clients be able to better detect that sort of thing. By guessing passwords and defeating CAPTCHAs, AI makes it easier for hackers to take over online accounts. While you may have seen some deepfake videos, audio deepfakes could be arguably more appealing to bad actors. Audio that can impersonate CEOs into fooling employees into revealing sensitive information or authorizing payments could be just a gold mine for cyber criminals. Not to mention, a whole bunch of gift cards they ask you to go down to 7-Eleven to get. Quick tip, no one is going to ask you to give them a gift card code that you bought at the 7-Eleven under any circumstances. Deepfakes can do anything like cause political crisis and the incrimination of innocent individuals. Really want to be careful about that sort of thing. Okay, so now we're going to get into number 3, which is firmware attacks. So what's firmware exactly? Well, the stuff that's running on your little devices, like your Apple TV, your Google Chromecast, the embedded software, that's called firmware. For the past 25 years, the majority of cyber attacks have focused on software, rarely delving beyond a device's operating system. That's starting to change. Hackers are figuring out how to use malware to target firmware in order to acquire that God-level access to devices and even wreck them physically. According to a recent poll, 83% of businesses have previously experienced firmware attacks. Pretty much every smart device in your house has some kind of firmware. It's effectively the code that runs beneath the operating system and serves as a link between the software it's running and the hardware that it's running on. So even your computers, laptops, desktops, they have a firmware, maybe you've heard of it, called the BIOS, and that's what tells the hardware and software how to interact. However, it's much more significant for lower functioning, like embedded devices, like your smart light switch or your Alexa device, perhaps. Even ATMs, medical devices, and there's only firmware. There's not really an operating system. So if a hacker can take control of those gadgets, they do it via that firmware. This is particularly concerning for embedded devices and industrial controllers used in safety critical systems like the power grid and water treatment. Let's not forget about nuclear plants, manufacturing, oil and gas pipelines, and so forth. So an attack on the firmware of those devices could and likely will result in situations of physical sabotage and extensive damage. For example, a hacker might cause a months-long power outage, interrupt water supply, disable industrial plants, and even brick the gas station pumps, ATMs, hospital ventilators, and office buildings if they're able to get in via the firmware. These types of attacks aren't as far-fetched as they may appear. In 2016, Russian hackers disrupted Ukraine's power grid using a specific malware called crash override, leaving thousands without power. So, speaking about cyber attacks that are just getting started, let's talk about supply chain exploitation. Now, due to the high-profile breaches of things like SolarWinds, Microsoft Exchange, Kaseya, CodeCov, and the like, supply chains have become the new buzzword. The truth is, supply chain abuse is still in the early stages, and attacks will only become more common, smart, and bold in the coming years. Advanced nation states such as Russia and China will go even further, breaching more sensitive backbone IT services. Think your internet service providers, chip makers, app stores, security tools, and so on, to better infiltrate and persist inside critical infrastructure. Here in the United States, abroad, everywhere is going to be susceptible to this sort of thing. Cyber criminals will target the low-hanging fruit, such as retail systems, e-commerce platforms, kind of in the same way that they've already come after supply chains. Many mage cart gangs, as they're called, have wreaked havoc on e-commerce companies by using the open source Magento platform. In the next coming years, hackers will exploit software, firmware, and other supply chain and points of entry to get into millions of IoT, Internet of Things devices, from thermostats to audio and so on, smart speakers, what have you. These attacks, far from being a small annoyance, have the potential to cause massive physical disturbance if the hackers utilize their access to disable these devices. They have a lot of points of access there, and we got to watch out for. But lastly, the fifth thing I want to talk about today is the good old 5G. And no, it's not spreading COVID, I promise. Internet connectivity is undergoing substantial changes that will take time to develop. And despite the current 5G deployments you've been hearing about, it's kind of hit or miss. I get pretty good coverage. It's, like having a cable connection going to my phone. But pretty soon they're going to be delivering high-speed internet, talking gigabit over wireless from 5G stations and from space satellites as well. And it's going to give a lot of bandwidth to a lot of people.
Oh my God! Wow!
Now, hackers, never going to let a good crisis go to waste, are going to try and take advantage of these.
Oh, hell no!
And deploying botnets with more power than ever before and allow them to create damage and wreak havoc on an unprecedented scale. Botnets are huge networks of suppressed devices, and hackers will utilize them to create denial of service attacks against unsuspecting companies that they will often try to extort to prevent getting their systems taken down. And with 5G being at least 10 times faster than 4G, those botnets are going to have a lot more bandwidth to throw at unsuspecting sites. Botnet attacks in the future are going to have the potential to affect huge portions of the population's access to the internet. They could jeopardize public safety if they block emergency services. They could even extort entire countries, which already happened to Liberia back in 2016. In addition, data theft will also see an increase, right? With faster transfer speeds, hackers are going to have an easier time collecting and extracting massive quantities of stolen data. So having more bandwidth isn't always a plus. So as a result, data breaches will become more expensive and potentially more difficult to recover from. It's just a fact that our devices are getting smarter and more autonomous. As connection speeds get faster, hackers will be able to use these capabilities to attack other devices. A hacker who can get past a smart traffic light might then proceed to infiltrate each and every car that passes by. You know, this is all like out there stuff, but it's coming.
Y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here, up.
And self-driving cars within the range of an infected other self-driving car might be exploited in the same way. An infected drone could be used as a weapon to find other connected devices, and at the same time be used to spread a virus over large distances.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
You know, the amount of damage these devices can cause over higher bandwidth could be pretty catastrophic. Now, what we need to worry about is when they start using these techniques against government officials and high-level executives, and more sophisticated island hopping attacks could breach corporate networks using these connections between these smart devices. Overall, the takeaway is that cybersecurity is only going to get more complicated. As hackers develop new and inventive ways to carry out assaults, we need to be prepared. It's true that ransomware attacks will continue to be a problem in the coming years, but the emerging of new attacks should be equally concerning. By watching this video, you've already taken the first step. Making yourself aware of these threats, and that's great. The good news is there are steps you can take to protect yourself against cyber criminals. And as always, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. You heard of any of these types of threats before? Let me know in the comments below. So, if you'd like to discuss cybersecurity measures your business can take, feel free to book a time to chat with me via the Calendly link below. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.